When I walked into Mrs. Xian's sewing workshop on a late afternoon, I was immediately captivated by the special atmosphere inside. The workshop was not large, but everything was organized and tidy. The rhythmic hum of sewing machines created a unique harmony. Mrs. Xian came up to greet me with a warm smile, but one full of determination. When I looked into her eyes, I sensed an extraordinary strength that had been forged over many difficult years. Mrs. Xian, the eldest child in a family of 5 siblings, grew up in hardship and poverty. But rather than letting her challenging circumstances hold her back, she learned to turn every obstacle into an opportunity. I didn't have the chance to study properly, she shared, but I learned from life, from the people around me. Her words were a living testament to the hardships she had endured and a valuable lesson for anyone seeking to change their fate. Mrs. Xian began recounting her childhood with a calm yet emotional tone. As the eldest, she had to quit school at a very young age to help her family. While her peers went to school, she had to work the fields, picking crops, tending to animals, and caring for her younger siblings. Every time I saw my siblings eat their fill, I felt a sense of peace, she said, her voice tinged with emotion. She knew that her sacrifices were all for their future. However, deep inside her, she always harbored a bigger dream. She didn't want her life to be forever tied to poverty. Late at night, when everyone else had fallen asleep, she would secretly read books, teaching herself from the old pages she borrowed from neighbors. This was her only way to plant the seeds of knowledge in an environment that seemed to offer no opportunities. When Mrs. Xian spoke about the biggest decision of her life, I could feel the strength in every word. Deciding to leave her rural hometown and move to the city was a major turning point. At that time, all I had was a heart full of determination and belief in myself, she said. Moving to the city with no friends, no relatives, and no capital was incredibly difficult, but Mrs. Xian was resolute. The first few days were truly tough. She had to take on every kind of job, from selling street food to manual labor, with no stable work in sight. However, she never gave up. In every job, no matter how small, I learned something, she recalled. During this time, Mrs. Xian discovered her passion for the sewing industry. The first sewing machines she fiddled with didn't just help her earn a living. They became the foundation of her decision to open her own sewing workshop. Despite facing countless challenges, her determination never wavered. Mrs. Xian's first sewing workshop was nothing fancy, just a small room with a few old sewing machines. But she was undeterred. Every day, I had to do everything, from designing and producing to managing, she recalled. To find customers, she tirelessly went out to meet people, talking to and persuading one person after another. At first, no one believed I could do it, she shared. But she never let the negativity affect her. Her perseverance and self-belief helped her overcome the initial difficulties. Slowly, she began receiving her first orders, marking an important milestone in the growth of her workshop. I learned from every failure, every mistake, and each time, I became stronger, she said, her eyes gleaming with pride. The sewing machines that once seemed so daunting had now become symbols of the relentless effort she had put into building her business. As Mrs. Xian's business grew, she began focusing more on building a dedicated and professional team. A company can only be strong if it has a united team, she emphasized. She didn't just want to produce quality products. She also wanted to create a positive working environment for everyone. We have to be like a family in the workplace, she explained. Mrs. Xian always stressed the importance of educating her employees, not just in their trade, but also in ethics and responsibility. Even though we're in the sewing industry, I always find ways to enhance the skills of my employees, from sewing techniques to communication and management skills, she said. She believed that for a business to be sustainable, the people within it were the most crucial factor. Her simple yet profound words conveyed a deep philosophy of leadership. Growth isn't just about numbers. It's about the quality of the people in the organization. Once Mrs. Xian had established a stable base, she had to face even greater challenges in business. The market is constantly changing, and competition is getting tougher, she shared. While her sewing workshop had gained some recognition, maintaining and growing the business was no easy feat, but Mrs. Xian never gave up. Whenever I face difficulties, I always look for ways to improve, she said. These challenges were opportunities for her to find new ways to adapt, from improving production processes and adopting new technologies to crafting effective marketing strategies. Mrs. Xian never stopped learning and kept up with new trends in the fashion and textile industry to ensure her products remained competitive. Never stop, always be creative and innovative, she said, and those words became a guiding principle for her business. Mrs. Xian's focus was not only on short-term profits but on long-term, sustainable growth. My company will not only be successful in the present, but must also have a long-term vision, she shared. She invested in research and development and constantly sought opportunities to expand into international markets. However, she also remained committed to her core values: product quality, ethical business practices, and social responsibility. I want to build a company that the next generation can carry on and grow, she said with pride. She also paid great attention to environmental protection in production, always seeking eco-friendly methods to reduce the negative impact on the environment. Mrs. Xian's goal was not only to generate profit but to create lasting value for society. Mrs. Xian has always considered her family the foundation of every decision in her life. Without my family, I wouldn't be where I am today, she said with gratitude in her eyes. Along with this, she also focused on contributing to the community. Success is not just for personal enjoyment, but to help others, she confided. Because of this, she organized free vocational training classes for poor women, helping them gain skills and opportunities. She believed that by helping others, not only would their lives be transformed, but her own growth would also be accelerated. These classes didn't just change the lives of many women, they also helped raise community awareness about the importance of learning and development. Mrs. Xian is not only a successful entrepreneur, but also an inspiration to the younger generation. Young people need to understand that no path is easy, but if you have passion and perseverance, you will succeed, she shared at a seminar. Her sincere advice helped many young people overcome difficulties and find motivation to chase their dreams. She always encouraged them not to fear failure, as it is the most valuable lesson. Life is not always easy, but if you persevere, you will overcome all challenges, she said, and those words resonated deeply in the minds of the young people attending the seminar. Mrs. Xian is not just a successful businesswoman. She is a symbol of perseverance and compassion. The lessons she shared with me and with others are not only about business but also about life. Life is never fair, but we can control our own destiny, she said, her eyes full of belief and hope. Despite achieving great success, Mrs. Shen never stopped learning and growing. For her, success was not the final destination but the journey that never ends. Her words serve as a beacon for anyone seeking the path to success, reminding us that only relentless effort can help us achieve our ultimate goals. Thank you for listening patiently up to this point, and I would like to congratulate you on your listening, comprehension, and vocabulary skills improving every day. Along with that, your ability to concentrate has been and will gradually take shape. All the necessary abilities to succeed, whether in study or work, are thoroughly explored in each video I post. I wish you happy studying, and see you in the next videos.